So here we are looking at a fishery, contained level water, and right over the back here we have an ocean, which is just another level contained body of water. So you alright, you know now? Aye. Sorry guys, what's your name?
Chris.
Chris.
Nick,
come, Dale. Alright guys.
Alright, Dale.
I'll just ask you some questions, right, and then I'll kind of get into it. Can I ask you, do you trust the government?
No.
No, is there anything for the government, anything for like governmental sources that you do trust, I'd believe?
Do I trust? Well, I wouldn't put all my trust in the government, but nor would I put all my trust in a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
You know? You've got to have quite a balanced view about these things.
You've got to have a bit of discernment.
Oh yeah.
Aye, so I'm always into science, you know, I've always loved science and things that are practical and things that I can measure.
Things you can quantify.
I can exactly quantify, test and measure. So I'll just cut right to the chase. He's a tradesman, aye?
I'm a tradesman.
If
I want
I-
mental health actually.
I'll tell you, if I says to yous, if I wanted to establish level with something, I would use water to do that.
Correct.
Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Why would you agree with that?
Because it's tried and tested for thousands of years.
So if I says to you that a body of water, it's always going to find its level,
Find its level.
and the surface is always going to be parallel.
It's fluid mechanics, is it not?
Fluid
It's just-
mechanics, aye. So these things to me are applied and they're tested and they're known and we use them every single day.
Yes.
But yeah, I'll come right to the crux of the matter. People are trying to tell me that the world's a round ball that's 80% covered in water.
Okay.
So I'll just wait till this van goes by here. I probably rushed into this before even setting it up.
I'm just
But-
looking at your tobacco tin, mate. I can see how.
No, it's not even going there. I'm not into aliens or anything like that.
Okay.
But if you're a tradesman and I'm a practical guy as well, and I'm looking at there,
You're looking at that body of water.
I'm looking at a contained level body of water, right? But yet they're trying to tell us that the Earth's a round ball. Do you believe that it is a round ball?
I believe it's around about.
You believe it's a round
Yes,
ball?
I do as well, aye.
Can I ask you why?
I'm not going to say because I was told so.
Well, that's an honest answer, and that's pretty much the same as the rest of us. I believe
I
that.
couldn't explain the science behind it, but I'm prepared to go along with that science, you know.
But just as we said a minute ago, based things on substance, practicality. If I test water and I can go out and I can take any bit of that water and test it, I can say that bodies of water have not got the ability to display convexity or conform to the exterior of shapes.
But surely gravity plays a big part in that, does it not?
Well, you'd have to define gravity and then practically prove it, but yet the
Well,
main...
gravity, definition of it really is a force that is exerted by mass, is it not?
Well-
If anything has mass, then it exerts gravity.
Yeah.
So that, for instance, your cycle helmet here is actually exerting gravity on the earth, it's pulling it towards it. Well, at such microscopic levels that actually there's larger mass in the earth, so it's pulling.
But what if I says to you they've never ever proven that?
Well, I haven't proven it, I'm not a mathematician, but I know that mathematicians have proven that it does exist.
But mathematics is a language, it's a formal science, and like any other language, you can start from, but mathematics can start from an axiom, an assumption, and it can build a mathematical construct that works mathematically on paper. But in order for it to come into natural science, like substance, it has to match practical reality. So they can tell me mathematical equations about how oceans are wrapped around a ball, but in practical reality, water doesn't behave like that. Yeah, and they'll say gravity, the Cavendish experiment, where a guy in a shed 200 years ago hung two lead balls for a shed roof and seen that they were attracted to each other. But that's like saying, if I get a small child in you, is that small child going to be attracted to you because your mass is bigger than the child?
Well, technically speaking, yes.
But you've never experienced that.
And I couldn't explain it because I'm no mathematician. But mathematicians can explain that, and if I was a better mathematician, then perhaps I can explain that myself.
Well, there's a guy that comes on my lives, he's on board with me, and he's an honours degree graduate from Glasgow University in maths and physics, and he's pretty much saying they're talking bollocks.
Okay. As a layman, I can't really, I'm not qualified to say.
Well, what I'm interested in is practicality and layman, just like yourself. Because I trust my senses and I trust my everyday observations and practical experience. So you being a joiner, you're used to level and stuff. So, by me saying that, I mean, does that even trigger a thought in your mind that how could the world possibly be a globe?
I have questioned these things over the years, but then, as I say, you just tend to revert back to the norm, you know, what you were maybe...
Yeah. Mathematical science has, over hundreds of years, centuries, evolved into the point where we can not just... I think you can work out the weight of the Earth and the weight of the Sun and the distance from the Moon to the Earth, and vice versa, using mathematics. I'm not going to just say, right, okay, I'm going to stop believing all that.
No, of course not. Nobody, for me, as we always say, mathematics is a wonderful tool for practical reality.
It's a tool like any other, like a plane or a chisel, do you know?
I don't think it's set in stone. I think that there'll be discoveries in this decade, the next decade. There's always people like yourself and your mate, the graduate, if you go to university, they question things, can maybe change things, and disprove other theories. I don't think you can dismiss that what Einstein said 60, 70 years ago is... If I was no improvement on that, I think we're always looking to...
Exactly, and Einstein was a mathematician, and it was all based on axioms and mathematical language. But if I was to challenge you and I was to come to you and say, look, here's how water behaves, and you were to then turn around and say to me, no, but it works on a globe, and I says, could you give me one practical example of a body of water that's got the ability to do that? Would you be able to show me it?
Maybe in a sort of lab sort of situation where you're in a level sort of classroom and you've got a pail of water, in that situation, like a test tank or something in Strathclyde Uni, where they do the testings for naval architecture. But out there, no, I don't think you could.
No.
I think there is an element of guesswork.
Aye. So just based on that, for me that's a huge factor. If the Earth's covered in 80% water and I know how it behaves, that totally contradicts. If I go to something else, you know what the horizon is? What shape's it?
Slightly curved, I believe, to follow the curvature of the Earth.
Well, it's called the horizon, it's not called the curve horizon. It's a horizontal.
Level plane.
Level plane.
As a level plane, but I think.
So would you refuse to trust your senses and what you observe based on? If I say
I would use the horizon as my level. If I look across there, we meet the Isle of Bute. I can kind of roughly gauge above sea level with the contour of that, the Isle of Bute there.
Yeah.
And I'm using the horizon. Well, I'm using the sort of sea level to gauge that.
So I'm
using my eye there.
But you said another thing there. You said sea level.
Sea level.
What does that mean? How can you have sea level on a bar?
So,
if we judge landmass,
we're getting back to the round.
If we do, we judge landmass height by sea level. And for me, if a body of water's not flowing anywhere, it means it's contained and it's found its level. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree with that.
Everyday practicality.
Aye.
That body of water there right now, would you say it's level?
It looks level to me.
Huh?
To the eye, to the naked eye, it looks level.
So if I go to curvature calculators and what the Earth's geometry is supposed to be, it's 24,000 miles in circumference. Now the geometry, the calculator for that's 8 inches per mile squared. So we could go to that beach there and we can look right out to the Ailsa Rock, which I would say is probably
30 miles.
30 miles away. Now 30 miles, I don't know the exact figure, but it's going to be a couple of 100 feet to the point where Ailsa Rock should be pretty much no visible to us while we're standing on that beach, but yeah, it is. We've got practicality like lighthouses everywhere, so that we can see when we're coming.
Use perspective and triangulation to kind of sort of estimate exactly whereabouts on that sphere you are. Or you think it's not a sphere.
Yeah.
If you're talking about horizons, then obviously if you're standing in this point in the sphere and you're looking at a lighthouse here, if you go further around the sphere, that lighthouse is going to appear shorter and shorter as you're going to see less of it because of the horizon.
But I can see that with perspective. If we look along this promenade right now and we look at the lampposts, as they get further away from us, they get smaller and smaller and smaller. And eventually they will just disappear into what's known as a vanishing point, where your eyes, your visual perspective is not able to define what's actually there anymore. And and especially if there's liquid involved, things will disappear from the bottom, first, and you'll still see the top because it's further away from the water source. know. But I mean, if you were committed to the globe, and I was to actually like, push you and say, what would your main reason be if you thought about it, that you believed that it was a globe? Would it be fair to say the images you see?
That would be fair to say that, yes, I have seen images. I've seen images from the Voyager and Hubble and all the rest of it.
But what if I was to say to you that they were no actual photographs?
It's faked.
But they're composites, they're composite images. What
I
do you
know
say?
they're composite images, but they compose a larger image of that sphere.
So do you not think, I mean, if they're sending wee robots to Mars, do you not think it would be feasible to expect an actual video or an actual photograph of the Earth without it being composited?
Well, you've got a point, but I'm sure there's an actual photograph from the surface of the moon that was it Neil Armstrong that took it?
Do you believe they went there
It's
then?
like the horizon, Earth coming up from the
Or Earthrise?
Earthrise. That's
See, you know, people can do this. See if you go to take that image straight from NASA and you put it in Photoshop, and you mess with the contrast and the
sure you can
levels,
do it, yes.
you can see the square boxes around it where they've imposed it in.
Yes, and that is a composite image. Why would they not show you the actual image rather than composed?
Why would they know?
collage kind of
Do you not think in this day and age, but the amount that they say is happening up there, we should have 24-hour live footage of the Earth, the space?
I believe there is a YouTube channel, NASA's space station's live feed. I've looked at that and it is just constant.
You've seen Hollywood movies though, haven't you?
I don't know that gravity and all the rest of it, yeah.
Huh? I mean, that's just as believable as anything they show you, is it not?
I suppose so.
So if we were to remove images in these videos that come from institutions and get back to actual physics again, that's what I'm saying. For me, you know, natural properties like water tells me that they're lying, it tells me that they're full of shit. Plus the fact that they can't provide actual video footage or any actual photographs.
Why?
Well, control.
Right.
If, you know, would you agree that years going by the religious institutions were there to
Yes.
control people? You would agree with that?
Absolutely, yeah.
So guys like Copernicus,
Nicholas Copernicus, yes.
well, he's a Jesuit priest.
Right.
So,
He's excommunicated actually.
well,
His beliefs. Because he believes that it wasn't Earth-centric universe, it was actually heliocentric philosophy.
yeah, well, this kind of stories for the past that for me I can't really trust them or rely on them, you know. I can only live in the now, and I'll base things on my practical observations and everyday experience. You know, you listen to these stories, but I think it's funny that these religious institutions controlled everything, but yet somehow people think they relinquish that control and let science have free rein. So, you know, you were saying, you know, why would they lie about it? Well, for me, I could say there's two states. I mean, you can disagree, obviously, you like. But there's two states of mind. There's one state of mind that says life's meaningless. You're meaningless. Right. You're nothing but a speck of dust flying on a wee delicate rock through the infinite vacuum of space. This wee delicate rock's got limited resources, therefore we need to control these resources and you need to pay your way on this wee delicate rock.
Okay.
The other state of mind is that it's a level plane. The thing's created and designed. There's an abundance of resources and that they don't want you having free rein and wandering off. Because for me there's a possibility that there's other places to go. I mean, that's just a couple of examples of why they would lie.
Of course there's a possibility, and it's not. I'm not qualified to say whether it's true or not true. Personally, I would still go along with the globe theory.
Globe theory. Just because
in the absence of any other credible theory, then I would go along with that one, you know.
Aye.
I suppose it's just for my own peace of mind, really.
So you would need
Naive, maybe, but it's just the way.
Well, if I says I was born into captivity, you know, and I was fed this story the same as we all were, you know, I've came to the realisation, look, what they're telling me is a lie. Do you think the burden would be on me to somehow prove what the full dimensions are, or would you think it would be more feasible that we explored and we found out what the full dimensions actually were?
I don't think there's any harm in that. I think,
Well, there's no harm in it.
I think as a free thinker, there's no harm in that at all. And if you can disprove or prove, I think for your own peace of mind you've got to do that.
That's what science is, really. It's
Aye.
a constant advancement of.
I don't think anybody should be shutting you up or
So,
trying to control you.
No.
so if we're saying about proving things, that's what I'm saying, you know, can I prove gravity? I can't prove that a body of water can conform to the exterior of a shape. Bodies of water fall flat and level, they seek their own level, rivers run downhill to the final level. So this is what I say, you know, we know that if there's an incline or a decline from one point to another, water flows. So right now all the rivers are running down into this water, but yet we're supposed to believe that out there it's starting to curve away but the water doesn't flow. I mean, that's preposterous to me.
Isn't the water trying to flow to where the point of where the gravity originates, like the centre of
Let's
the
say
Earth?
the centre.
In theory, yeah.
But where is the centre?
The centre of the Earth, well, it's beneath our feet.
How do they find that out? If the biggest hole they've ever dug is 8 miles, I mean, how do they know about all these layers all the way right through to this molten core?
Mantle in your core, well, the rest of the plates. Well, having the calculator done. Again, using mathematics.
Yeah. It's not based on anything empirical, like, it's not like it's theory. Like, I can get water now and I can show you it practically. You couldn't deny that, could you?
No.
But yet, you're going to get these people saying, oh, but there's a magic force. I can't show you it in any other scale, but therefore you need to believe my images. I mean, for me, if an image contradicts natural physics, the image is wrong. I don't start messing with physics to try and fit my images, or else, you know, if I showed you images of Superman in space right now, you wouldn't accept that as proof that Superman was real, would you?
No, I believe it as much as I believe fairies and goblins and things.
Oh,
like
exactly.
that. Dragons.
I can produce thousands of images of goblins and fairies and dragons. Does that mean that it's real?
No, of course not. Images of God, for that matter.
Yeah. So what are you thinking, guys? Is it making you question?
Of course it does. It's certainly
Aye.
thought-provoking.
Thought provoking.
And that's never a bad thing.
And it's not a scary thing either, is it?
No.
I think if you let it could become very scary if you allowed it to.
Do you think it's a scary thought that they've pushed this kind of atheistic, materialistic view on us that life's kind of meaningless, but that if you start to contemplate that this is actually designed, that, you know, there's more to life than just this wee delicate rock that's a big accident? I mean, for some people I think that is quite scary.
I'm sure it is, and that's why I'm sure some people invented the notion of an afterlife and a god and all the rest
Yeah.
of it to give them a little peace of mind and to think this isn't actually the end.
Yeah. I totally agree. People will buy any old story just to give them a bit of comfort.
Yeah,
But do you think it instills a bit more, what's the words? A bit more purpose and a bit more hope,
Yeah.
knowing that you're in something that's
Gives people a
designed.
purpose. But part of me thinks that people shouldn't really need a purpose to coexist within a society.
Yeah.
Well, so we're living in a society, and the purpose of that would be just to coexist
Yeah.
and be mutually beneficial to one another. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not for some greater good or some higher cause or whatever.
But this is it for me. For me, you know, we have all these different religions and they're all at wars with each other. Because for me, they're all substitutes for the actual truth. Because if we had the truth, we wouldn't have religions dividing us, or any of these ideologies. And for me, that's where it lies. If they've removed the psychological foundation from us, i.e. where we actually are, and that puts you in confusion, then you're going to start grasping at any other type of comfort blanket.
See, when you say they, who do you mean by they? You're talking about the establishment, the various establishments throughout the world.
Aye, the shadow government, the elites. I mean, if anybody,
What are they getting out of it?
well,
Control.
see, this is the thing for me. See, if I put an animal in that field there, and it came to the fence, the animal would just accept that it's an appendant area and it would go about its business. Some animals might know, they might try and scale the fence. Human beings are the exact same. If a human being comes up against a fence, a human being is going to want to know why and how it can get by that fence. So if you tell people you're on a globe, a human being goes, well, there's nowhere to go.
Aye.
There's nothing else that exists, so I might as well just sit here still and go on with it. But if there's a possibility, and I'm not saying this is true, if there's a possibility that there's other puddles, other ponds like yours beyond, like places like Antarctica, that's going to make us want to go there.
That's true, and I think though a lot of people that do subscribe to the globe theory, they also believe that there are other globes
With life on it.
with life on it and resources and all the rest of it.
But for me, it's more feasible that it's across the way. Here's another thing that I've got a problem with. They say they're going up into this vacuum of space, right? So for me, we live in a pressurised gaseous environment, and they're saying that's a vacuum. Well, there's no solid barrier between them. Yet we go to physics and everyday practicality again. I'm sure you'll concur here. In order to have two opposing pressure systems next to each other, you need to seal them. Would you know, or they would equilibrate?
We need to seal them.
They would have to be separated from each other, would they not?
Aye.
And that's 100% everyday experience, practical reality. So that's for me science, but yet you've got these institutions trying to tell me that on a bigger scale it behaves differently, when I don't have anything practical to
Back
make
it
me
up.
believe that. So if they were saying there's another medium up there, there would have to be something solid separating them. Do you ever wonder why the stars and their constellations never change?
Well, they do, I think, gradually. Again, I'm going back to proven scientific theory here. I haven't
Is that
proven
not
personally, but
Sorry, going away back, I mean the likes of that steeple there, it was to get closer to God. And then when the Wright brothers sort of took off into the sky, they were above the clouds and like, well, where's this God?
Yeah.
And then spacemen, astronauts, whatever, took it a step further and they still can't find them. And that's just simplifying it a wee bit, but I mean that was getting bandied about 130 years ago when they were putting steeples like that.
Well, I could say that they put them up to establish that they were the power.
Well, there was that as well.
You know, they've
that
got
as
the
well.
biggest buildings, you know, we're showing you we're in power.
a
We're
visible show of force. You know?
Aye, visible show of force, exactly. Rather than these kind of stories, which, you know, I probably would say would be true as well, you know, people have fanciful ideas, but I mean, again, you know, if they're saying they're going up there and it's a vacuum, you know, that doesn't make sense to me. So, and again, you couple that with the fact that there's no real photographs and real videos, it tells me that they're doing it in Hollywood studios. Same as they done the moon landings.
Oh, there was that dancing that used to be up the town.
Do you think do you think they went to the moon?
I think they went to the moon. I'm prepared to go along with the theory that man did land on the moon.
How about yourself?
I know there's a lot of controversy.
I believe it as
Contentious
well,
issue.
I do believe it.
You believe it as well?
I've watched Neil Armstrong been interviewed and stuff like that, and I don't think the guy's lying. I think the
Did
guy's
you see the interview for when they first came back from the original kind of Apollo missions?
many years ago,
And they all sat there as if they were had
fucking
guns
hell.
pointed at
as
their
if
head.
they were all fucking on acid.
Aye. I mean, you've just done one of the greatest feats according
Aye.
to them to the man's ever known,
bother.
and they're just sitting there with their faces tripping them as if somebody's holding a gun at their face.
Could they not have been absolutely washed out after that?
They could be. They could be. They could be. I mean, I don't know. But I would postulate and say that. Oh, got an accident here. I would postulate it and say that they done that in order to.
Under duress.
Aye, and the earlier ones were actually taking out guys like Gus Grisham. You know, if you've seen the movie Capricorn 1, you know, I think that's pretty much what that was, you know. And what they suppose had happened to him is that they locked him in the capsule and set it on fire. Because they were saying things like, you know, we're never getting anywhere in this. I mean, it's the 1960s, they've never done it before. They build a rocket and supposedly they went there first time, no problem at all. And at the same time, they're on the moon.
Soviets were sending up
Exactly.
Alsatians and all that.
I like her.
But they're saying at the same time, they're on the moon on the phone to Nixon, 238,000 miles away. I mean, how are you getting a phone signal?
That was at the same time you couldn't phone your auntie in Canada.
Exactly,
You couldn't get a transatlantic.
exactly. So there's so many anomalies and absurdities,
I know.
you know, that it make. But I would look at that, and there's a certain movie called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. I highly recommend you check it out. And it basically shows you these like Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. And what they're actually doing is they've got the cab darkened out, and they've got a round window, and that's what they're filming through, saying they went to the moon. And when they pull the curtains down, all the sunlight comes back in, and you realise that they're just actually in.
Studio.
They're up a plane, filming through a round window. And so,
Through a porthole.
aye, I mean, these are things that are conspiracies, and you can get right in it. I always bring it back to practicality and what I can actually observe for myself. And as I say, horizon's flat and level. There's no measurable curvature anywhere. The place is covered in water, which is not flowing. So for me, it's contained. So I would say then the Earth is like a pond. It's a contained water system.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't want to keep you much longer, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to stand here and have a conversation with me. It's been a pleasure. Are you going to look into it?
Aye, I certainly will.
Aye. I've got the channel, as I say, it's called Beyond the Imaginary Curve.
Right.
We go live. I went live again on Wednesday night. It's usually a Saturday.
Definitely check it out. My son's quite interested. You'll be interested in a lot of things that say.
Excellent. Excellent. So, as I say, I opened up the other night and we offer anybody to come and prove to us that it's a globe. You know, using the actual natural scientific method, observable, measurable, testable and repeatable. So far we've had nothing. We get stories about the sky and all these illogical things. There's nothing, there's no measurable curvature anywhere. Surveyors don't account for curvature. Building roads, rails, bridges, nobody's accounting for curvature. So it's like, it's missing. So there's a huge question, and it's great to hear that you're going to look into it, guys. I really appreciate you for your time.
Nice talking to
Thank
you,
you very
man.
much, man.
Very,
Thanks, buddy.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks.